Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from March 2nd X, who says, me 26 female with husband 26 male of 4 years. He sold his truck because of our baby and hasn't been the same since. My husband and I have been together for 4 years and married for 2 of those years. We always planned on having children, but 7 months ago we found out it was happening a lot sooner than we imagined. He bought the truck right before we met. He loved it. I guess you could say he was even slightly obsessed with it. I knew this before we started dating, and it didn't change in the 4 years we have been together. He spent a lot of money on it and continued to spend a lot of money on it. Everything he did in his spare time had to do with his truck. All of his friends are truck guys like him, and he's even in this cute little truck club. Since we've been together, I don't think we've taken my car anywhere we have been together actually. He doesn't make great money, but he likes his job and still paid his portion of everything, so I never had a problem with him spending his little bit of extra money on his truck. We found out I was pregnant and we are both scared, shocked, and excited. A few months ago, he brought up that he doesn't know if he'd be able to afford the truck and the baby. I didn't even know if it would be practical with how big and loud the truck is. We didn't talk about it for a while, and then a few weeks ago, he told me as much as he didn't want to, he was going to try and sell the truck because the baby was getting so close. He said he couldn't afford the payments and upkeep and maintenance on the truck if we were raising a child. He was in good spirits about it and found potential buyers very quickly. He sold it a couple of days later for what he wanted and bought a car the next day. It's been around 3 weeks since he sold the truck and he has changed completely. We are always laughing and having fun together, and I don't think I've seen him smile since. I've done everything I can think of to make him feel better, to get his mind off of it, and nothing has worked. He just comes home from work and watches TV until bed. He's mopey and just drains the energy out of the room, as mean as that sounds. I asked him why he hasn't been hanging out with his friends anymore, and he told me because he sold his truck. He said everything they did was related to that somehow and it wouldn't be the same. Last night he told me that he feels resentment and bitterness towards me, even though it was 100% his decision to sell the truck, and he doesn't know why he feels that way. What can I do to help him get past all this? Is he depressed? I just don't know what to do. I know it was just a truck, but it had more of an impact on him than I thought it would. Panic Bread says, sounds like it was a huge mistake to sell that truck. People don't have to give up who they are just because they have children. Maybe he wouldn't have had the money to keep it in tip-top shape, but who cares? Encourage him to take some of the money from the sale and buy a less expensive truck. Opie says, yeah, I know he regrets it, but he had an $800 monthly payment on it plus everything else. I asked him why he didn't get an older and less expensive truck, and he said he would rather just have a car than downgrade from his dream truck. I'm hoping he has a change of heart and decides to sell or trade the car in for a more affordable truck. Crazy Mike says, sounds like he not only gave up his truck, but also his social circle. Being cut off from your friends feels incredibly lonely. Maybe reach out to his truck buddies for some ideas on how to re-engage him into their circle. Maybe they can find a project truck they can all work on together. If he's close with them, then surely even they don't want him to just disappear. Opie says they have reached out to him to come hang out and such, but he said it would feel weird and kind of uncomfortable doing the kind of stuff they did before and not having his own truck. Someone said what kind of truck did the husband have, and Opie says he had a Ram 3500 Cummins. I hope he comes around and becomes okay with getting a smaller, maybe inferior truck. And someone pointed out that it'd be around, that the price of it around that time was around $60,000, maybe more with financing. And Opie came in one more time saying, thanks for all the feedback and advice. We have a doctor's appointment today and I'm going to try and talk to him more about it after. I just did a quick Google to have a look at the truck itself just to see what we're dealing with here, and oh my word, that thing is huge. Not even sure that would fit down some of the roads in the UK. Although I'm sure someone has one of those trucks around here somewhere. It almost sounds like he's grieving in some ways and about losing this truck. But the resentment towards his wife is completely unfair. You know, she didn't force this decision. But also at the same time, I'm thinking $800 a month. how sustainable was that with a baby coming along? But he just seemed to turn to this like all or nothing kind of thinking when his buddies seemed to want him around, not his car. And I truly think that what OP or one of the commenters was saying is that a project truck of some kind down the road is a good compromise rather than just, being at home, being bitter and resenting everyone and misplacing blame. But OP did update the post and says, I wanted to post an update because it's nice reading positive outcomes on here. I got a lot of responses and it really helped me better understand what he was going through. We were finally able to have a good talk about it. He told me what a lot of you said. That truck was his identity and part of who he was. I told him I knew he didn't want that car he bought, and he told me I was right. We talked more and eventually figured out something that would work. He sold the car he had and we agreed he could just use mine. Our schedule works out to where he could take me to work and pick me up on time. It wasn't a big hassle and I was going on maternity leave soon anyways. He found a total truck for sale and the engine was still in good condition. It was the engine he wanted. He bought the truck for what was supposedly a really good deal and him and a couple of friends ripped everything out of it that he needed and got rid of the body. The engine is in our garage now. It took him a couple of weeks, but he found a truck to put the engine into and him and a friend are going to pick it up this weekend. He's back to his old self again and baby is going to be here soon and we couldn't be more excited. And as always, there was a mix of comments. Some people like questioning he sold his truck but now has bought a project instead. Other people saying he was just having a crisis about becoming a parent soon. Other people saying, good on them, this is a positive update. But what do you guys make of this situation? Do you think the right decision was made in this? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from Am I the Arsehole College Fund Mum from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit, and it says, Am I the arsehole for not splitting my daughter's college fund? When my 42 female daughter, 17 female, was 7, we lost her father to an avoidable accident. Due to that and the subsequent settlement, my daughter was able to have a trust fund of sorts that provided for college, grad school if she wanted, and even some left over for whatever life might bring. It is money that, managed wisely, would enable her to have a head start in life. She knows about this and has never taken for granted given where the money came from. After all, we'd both rather have her father around than the money. That said, life moves on, and I remarried 6 years after my former husband's passing to a lovely man who has children of his own, 17 female, 13 male. All of the children live with us primarily, with his children seeing their mother on vacations as she lives across the country. This year, both of our girls are graduating and should be headed to college. My daughter was admitted ED to a dream school last year and is ecstatic about it. Her father is an alumnus, and she has this old sweatshirt of his that she kept to remind her of him. She cried so much when she got in, and both her stepfather and I were proud of her because she worked hard to get in. My stepdaughter will also be attending a wonderful school that is one of the top-ranked schools for her interests. The problem now arises with the money to pay for stepdaughter's school. Because her parents cannot afford to pay the tuition in its entirety, stepdaughter will have to take some loans. All told, she will graduate with about 40k in loans, which I think is still quite modest for the school she's attending and her earning prospects post-graduation. But my daughter will graduate debt-free, and for my husband this is suddenly a problem. He wants us to split my daughter's fund between all 3 kids because then they could all, probably, have college fully paid for. My daughter won't have much left over and will definitely need to borrow for grad school, which she has expressed interest in attending. But according to my husband, that's okay because everyone will start off on equal footing post-college. I think this is unfair to my daughter because 1, her father had to die for this money, and 2, this is like her inheritance from him. My husband thinks that they're all siblings and she should be happy to share the money with them if it means giving her siblings a head start in life. I absolutely do not want to put her in the position of being guilted into saying yes if she doesn't want to. I've expressed all of this to my husband and he thinks I'm being selfish and I'm teaching my daughter to be selfish. And I obviously don't consider my stepkids the same as my daughter. Am I the arsehole for wanting to protect my daughter's trust for her as it was intended? ETA, since I've seen this a few times already. Both kids do have college funds, but somewhat smaller because my husband and his ex got their finances together later in life. So there is some money, but with the caliber/COA of the school that stepdaughter will be attending, she will still need some loans to cover costs. I haven't brought up going to a cheaper school because that will be a fresh set of problems given where my daughter will be matriculating. Absolutely not the arsehole in this situation. That money came from her father's death. It's not some sort of like lottery win or something like that. It's her father's death this came from. It's her inheritance and her last connection to him that's providing for her future. The stepdad talking about equal footing, is ignoring that the kids don't have an equal start. One of them lost her dad at 7. But a commenter says, not the arsehole. That settlement was for your deceased husband's children, not your future children, and certainly not someone else's. Not the arsehole. No way. He needs to provide for his kids. You have tragically provided for your kid. This is her money. Why hasn't he been saving for his kids' education all along? He can co-sign on his kids' loans and pay them off. These are his kids, and he and his ex-wife need to provide their educational expenses. Opie says, to be fair, he did save for his kids, but it won't fully cover. Stepdaughter will need to take out about 10 to 15k, give or take per year, although it could be less if she managed to get paid work during summers, etc. We would also be happy to help her out here and there if needs be. A commenter who was downvoted says, info. This is a difficult situation to judge as written. My question for you is this. Who has paid for your daughter's needs since you and your husband married? Has he contributed to all of her food, clothing, shelter, school-related expenses, extracurriculars, family trips, etc.? Or were those expenses borne solely by you and/or the fund? Because if your current husband has contributed to his stepdaughter's expenses, I can see how he might think. I've spent thousands supporting this young woman over the years, money that could have come from her fund. Opie says both my husband have paid for things because we both had careers and didn't nickel and dime one another about who was buying what for whose kid. And Opie had some more information on the trust and says, when the settlement was awarded, it was awarded to me. I then split the money and put most of it in a trust for her, since we weren't struggling because I work and made enough for our little family. So it was 2 years and 9 months later that OP came in with an update and said, I'd forgotten about this account sometime after I posted until I saw my original post on Facebook. Here's that original post, by the way, and then shared the link and said, I logged in and found a lot of message requests demanding an update. Some nicely and some not too nicely. I almost deleted the account, but I figured, why not? So here we are. My daughter is now a junior at her father's alma mater, and her dream school is planned. She's doing exceptionally well to her surprise, but not mine. I always knew she was capable. I'm happy that she's starting to understand what I've always known. She's told me that she plans to start studying for her ALSAT because she wants to apply to law school senior year. I'm so immensely proud of the woman that she is becoming. I've never quite been able to get over that stab of grief that hits when I see her shining and know that her father will never be able to see her being an adult that we can be proud of. As for the money, it stayed hers. That part I never wavered on, but that was also the very thing that ended my marriage. Things fell apart even before the girls went to college. My ex-husband went to my daughter against my explicit wishes and tried to guilt her into sharing the money. She came to me upset, and that was it for me. Going behind my back and trying to pressure my teenage daughter into doing something that I had stated would not be happening? Unconscionable. We separated that fall, and the actual divorce was finalized this past summer. My stepdaughter is also a junior at the school she was excited about, but we have not spoken since the separation. I don't know if she blames me and my daughter or is trying to distance herself from the whole thing, but it still hurts. My stepson still contacts me frequently, so that's something. I moved after the divorce was finalized, so now I'm in a new city with a new job and a new house. It's been an adjustment, but it feels good to start fresh in a completely new city for the first time in my adult life. So that's it. I'm doing well, as is my kid, and we're moving on with life, which is all you can do these days. I'm grateful to the thousands of people who didn't make me feel like a monster because I stood firm on protecting what was my daughter's. She and I are both grateful that we took that stance. Especially now that we know that grad school is firmly in the future and the economy around that. This will obviously be my last update, so cheers. Be well. Commenter says to OP, you did the right thing, mum. That money comes at the expense of your daughter losing her father, and it was in no way shareable with your former stepchildren. Your ex-husband was horrible for even asking her for money for his children. One other thing is, when you married this man, you really should never have told him about her inheritance to begin with, and your ex-husband should have had no knowledge of it, nor of how her college was being paid. Hopefully you'll eventually find someone who's not selfish like your ex-husband, and will treat both you and your daughter as you should be treated. Best of luck on your new journey. The absolute audacity of trying to pressure the daughter behind OP's back. That's just unforgivable, isn't it? And I'm not surprised it ended the way it did, but what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's have another story. Now our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit. No update as yet, but it's from Karma Chameleon 2025 and says, am I the arsehole for my reaction upon learning details of my sister-in-law's divorce settlement? My wife's sister, Anne, 39 female, has been married to her husband, Barry, 40-ish, for about 15 years. They have 3 kids together. Anne works a high-profile job at an international company. Her job requires her to travel a lot, sometimes for weeks at a time. Barry works full-time as well, but he has a work-from-home job, which allows him to take care of their kids. Anne's job pays well enough that they can hire out stuff like house cleaning and yard care to take some of the load off Barry when Anne is out of town. I'm not incredibly close with Barry, but he's a good dude and our kids get along great together. He used to bring the kids over to our house all the time to have them play together, but over the past year or so, that has happened less and less often. About 4 months ago, I found out why. My wife told me that Barry was filing for a divorce from Anne. Last week, Anne came over to our house to visit. My wife asked if I could take the kids out of the house so she and Anne could talk, which I agreed to. When I got home, Anne was still there and it was clear that their conversation got very emotional. I gave Anne a hug and told her that I loved her before she left. My wife filled me in on the details later that night. Apparently the divorce proceedings were pretty bitter. I won't go into the nitty-gritty, but Barry ended up getting primary custody, child support, alimony, and the house. Anne is in shock, heartbroken, angry, and doesn't understand how any of this happened. I told my wife that this is a crappy situation, and I feel bad for everyone involved, but that Anne probably shouldn't be surprised about the outcome, considering that she hasn't been a very present wife or mother due to her job keeping her away from home so often. This pissed my wife off, and she went off on me for acting like any of this is fair to her sister. I told her that it's not about fairness, just that Anne should be able to look in the mirror and admit that Barry has been more present in their kids' lives than she has. My wife continued defending Anne by saying that she was working to provide for her family. I agreed with her but stated that there is a cost to having that kind of job, and Anne is paying that price now. My wife accused me of taking Barry's side, and I told her that I'm not taking anyone's side. The whole situation sucks and I feel bad for everyone, especially the kids because they're innocent in all of this. I told her I would feel the exact same way if the roles were reversed and Barry had a job that kept him from home so much. My wife again asked me if I think the divorce was fair. I told her I just think it sucks and it's sad. I told her I wouldn't wish that situation on anyone and that we should be giving them all the love and grace instead of judgment about fairness. My wife told me I'm being an arsehole about this. I understand my wife has a sibling obligation to look out for her sister, but I feel my response was level-headed and not taking sides. Tanuki says, no one's an arsehole here. You're not an arsehole, but how did you not see this coming? Your wife just had a long emotional conversation with her sister and then vented to you about it. She wasn't looking for a rational response or analysis of the situation. She was looking to vent. You're not wrong, but you weren't smart about it either. Randomize says very slight you're the arsehole. She didn't want your opinion. She wanted your sympathy. Also bear in mind she sees your attitude towards this as a proxy for what might happen if you ever get a divorce. Not the end of the world, but if it comes back up, just say, I don't understand all the details. I feel really bad for Anne. Take the L and move on. Another commenter says, not gonna judge, your response was level-headed, but I've learned that there is a time and place to express oneself. And just after her sister came to her in tears was not the time to say. She should not be surprised. You acted with zero empathy here. Had you waited till the emotion passed, helped your wife process and then tell her your valid point of view, you would not have sounded like the arsehole. And one more commenter who says not the arsehole, but clearly this is gender-based role reversal situation that your family cannot get their heads around. As you stated, if the roles were reversed and the wife was a stay-at-home mum getting primary custody, child support and alimony, and the husband earner got the short stick, no one would even blink, not tactically agreeing that this was expected and normal. When the wife is the wage earner and the husband stays home for the kids, all of a sudden it becomes unfair and abusive for the man to get all the custody and financial considerations. No different from female celebrities being required to pay alimony and support to male significant others when they split up. Your family needs to chill and back off, but your failure to abjectly support your wife's sister will be held against you. And the comments were all over the place on this. There was not the arseholes here, you're the arseholes, not the arseholes. People just staying out of it completely and not judging. But what is your thoughts on this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It's always absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. And if you can do me a favor and click that like button as well, it's really helpful. And don't forget, there'll be a playlist at the very end of the video that you can click on, and it will automatically scroll through all the videos for you. They're down in the links as well. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.